Let's go, one and all. It's time to react to Evie Carnage. This is a British chap, proper British bloke, the kind of fella I really like. I very much doubt he would ever like me, but I like him. Unrequited love, if you will. So he films videos from his car, usually talks about electric vehicles, blah, blah, blah. And this time is not particularly different, but he's touching on a political aspect. Apparently, Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the former UK, now known as the Caliphate of Awfulness, of Communism 52, has decided, probably unilaterally in some way, to apparently allow 16-year-olds to vote. And Evie Carnage here has a bit of an issue with that. But while he's covering this, there's something else he talks about, which is very important to me, and I'm about to tear Evie Carnage a new hole. Let's find out why.
And every single one of them will tell you the same thing. In fact, sadly, daughter number one is a little bit lefty at the moment.
Okay, a detail. So he just finished talking about the fact that he sent all of his 5 children. They basically have all gone through the school system, have just come out, and daughter number 1, presumably oldest daughter, right, as you just described, is apparently a bit lefty, right, which he clearly disdains. So let's see.
Works in a school with people with special needs. She's a bit lefty. I'm hoping to bring her out of it eventually. She'll see the light. But, you know, she's all about inclusivity and stuff. And, yeah, I mean, it can't be helped. You've got to let kids find their own way.
You've got to let kids find their own way. This is foreshadowing a little bit, fella. Because what's going on here is that you, like every other parent that has ever lived, there's been a bajing, I don't even know what it's about. Okay, like every other parent, have abandoned your kids. So you're used to that. So now you're going to say, it's time to abandon the kids to find their own way. Very British to some extent. At the age of 17, most of you go to work and do crazy things, which I really enjoy and I really respect. But the problem is that this kid of yours you have sent to school. Now she's out of school and she's doing whatever she wants, and you're saying she needs to find a way, and she'll come back to the fold. Why would she? What reason would she have?
But she only learned that from the education system. She certainly didn't fucking learn it from her parents.
That's correct. She didn't learn it from her parents, who have abandoned her and put her in school. I don't know how you're laughing about this, because it ain't exactly funny.
She only learned it one place, and that was at school. And quite frankly, they should be teaching her other things. But all the other kids will agree that when you're at school, and if you've got kids at school, or even when you were at school, how many teachers do you know that teach in schools that are big reform people?
For context, for everybody who doesn't know, Reform is a relatively modern party in the United Kingdom that has to do basically with attempting to reconquer the United Kingdom vaguely, right? By reducing the level of socialism, reducing the level of migration, reducing the level of benefits to migrants and that sort of thing. Well, to answer your question, Carnage, it's none. 0. And that's fine, because schools are a gigantic re-education concentration camp for same think. Everybody needs to think exactly the same way. Whoever disagrees is not welcome. Everybody knows this. Now, pray tell, what makes you accept the paradigm that you need to put your children in that school? I mean, you've just told us, correctly and very entertainingly as well, that as we know from our own school days, every teacher is a bloody socialist. It was the case when you were a kid, mate. It's the case now. Why did you put your kids into the system? I mean, it's a very interesting question, this. Why does nobody think about it? I'm not 100% sure. That in and of itself might be an interesting question too.
Openly reform people. I bet
Yes.
99% of you can't name one.
That's correct. Nobody
How
can name
many
one.
are proper socialists, though? And proper lefties and proper all the... You can name loads. You can name loads of teachers that are like that, but you can't name one that would openly say, I vote for reform, because you're not allowed to do that, because you'd probably be sacked from teaching.
That's correct. And you put your children in that place, including your first daughter, the one that's now a bit lefty, the one that's now, she needs to find herself. That's child abandonment, Carnage. You did this.
Like that girl who turned up in a Union Jack dress and had to be sent home from school because it wasn't inclusive to turn up in a Union Jack dress on Diversity Day. That is the standard of the education system.
That is the standard of the education system which you support. You can't disagree with it and give it your kids. You understand how these two things are mutually exclusive? You can't do that. You cannot do that. But you did. And I'll tell you what, not only did you, you would do it again. And you would easily find all sorts of excuses, from can't afford it to whatever else you can think of. And I don't even necessarily disagree with you. You probably can't afford it. You probably can't afford to have your wife stay home and look after the children while you go and breadwin. Or vice versa. I don't really care what kind of way you want to do it. Right? But all of this is caused by you. You, together with all of your peers, not me, because I made a different decision, but you are the reason why the thing that has just happened that you disapprove of has occurred. Because Keir Starmer is what? Our age? Slightly older? I'm not 100%, to be honest, and I couldn't care less. But he has gone to school like you. Like your daughter, he has had his lefty... I'm going to use the inverted commas that you did. The single ones, I like that. The whole lefty education. And he's come out of the lefty education. He's never reformed to the other side, I'm afraid. But then what you decided to do, whether you could or could not do something different, is arguable. I'm not necessarily going to accept it because that's what everybody says. But whatever. Is you supported the same machinery by inserting the most precious asset you have ever had, which is your daughter and your other children, but I'm just using that as an analogy, your daughter, to support the same machinery so that Keir Starmer can get elected in the first place and can pass a law that is going to attempt to ensure for him and his cronies to get elected again in the future by all of the young fools that whose parents have abandoned them in these socialist machines, so that they can vote early to skew the vote further left, because as you age and you get taxed out of your mind, you start being slightly less lefty. It's very easy to be lefty when the people who are being robbed are anyone but you. It's trivial.
The level playing field, that's what we're dealing with, and these kids are going to come straight out of that and be able to vote. Well, they ain't voting no other way, are they?
Correct! And you did this, Carnage. And I'm going to stop now because I don't think there's any particular need for me to carry on. But you are clearly a good man. I enjoy your content. I think you're funny. You're irreverent like a Brit. And you're probably going to find, if you ever see this and if you ever care to, my critique of what you're saying terribly irritating. And I understand that. And I apologize if that's the case. You have a foreigner telling you that you're not being a very good Brit. But I want you to be aware that, at least from my perspective, which of course to you matters not at all, and that's fine, you are the one who's responsible for the thing you are complaining about. And you are the one who is responsible for the destruction of your own children. You still, of course, as you have suggested yourself, have an opportunity to potentially draw them back out of this, even by how you behave and how you talk about things on YouTube and everything like that. You're still offering an example to them. I mean, I'm sure some of them will see you as an old fuddy-duddy for a bit. All children do that for us eventually. See, I say that, but I don't know that it's true, by the way. I don't think my children see me as an old fuddy-duddy. Maybe they do. I'm not 100% sure, but completely different system, right? Because my children know how to go and get eggs from the chicken coop, and they have no freaking idea about the Egyptians, for example, or something, right? And they don't know about the social inequality of this or that or the other. My children already know how taxation works, already understand the philosophical issues with redistribution and that sort of thing. We had all sorts of educational possibilities. When we used to live in Canada, I made them do a socialist distribution of goods in an equitable fashion after Halloween. My oldest daughter, who was obviously older, faster, more efficient, etc., had to share her candy with all of her siblings. Let me tell you, that did not go down well with her, because she saw most of her stuff taken and given to somebody else. From everybody according to their means to everybody according to their needs. This type of learning is not the kind of learning you can expect to have in school. I don't think the problem is that 16-year-olds vote. I think that the problem is that 16-year-olds are coming out of concentration camps that you, Carnage, have put them in. Sorry, that wasn't a sentence, but you understand my point. You put your children into the concentration camp that gets your children to come out at the age of 20, 30, 40, completely mentally retarded. And retarded is the word, meaning their development is actively slowed. They do not know why they support a certain ideology as opposed to another one. They do not know why this philosophical principle, like for instance redistribution, is desirable. They believe it. Because school is not an education machinery, it's a religious indoctrination machinery. Through fear, discomfort, bullying, peer pressure, which is another form of bullying, authoritarian pressure, teachers are right, you're wrong, that sort of thing. But the one thing that needs to be firmly clear in everybody's minds is that until parents, like yourself, Carnage, but you're past it, right? But now what you could do, sorry, let me finish the sentence. Until parents understand that they have the power to stop this, but they are refusing to, this is never going to change. I mean, you are now at an age in which all of your children are adults. Presumably, if you haven't completely and utterly failed as a parent, some of them will start becoming parents themselves, or perhaps already have. Perhaps you're already a grandfather. I doubt it in the modern climate, but let's go with that assumption. Well, you have the opportunity to help that particular child of yours, who is now a parent, figure out a way how to exit the system. And you can dedicate some of your life, instead of talking to people on YouTube, though I appreciate that, you have the opportunity to help those children, those grandkids of yours, not be indoctrinated. So that at the age of 16, they're not drones that will do what the Queen says, but they are warriors that will stand up for themselves and be proper Brits. So, thank you for all your content that you always do. You always make me laugh. I appreciate your work. But you're responsible for this. Sorry.